Okay, then good afternoon and good evening where you are. I'd like to welcome everybody to AAPF 13. This workshop, Understanding the UN Declaration on the Rights of Peasants and People Working in Rural Areas, in short, UNDROP, as a tool for struggle, is organized by the Food Sovereignty and Resource Justice Cluster. My name is Ifan from FIA International, and I'll be moderating this workshop together with my colleague Farouk from PAKRC. Before we start, and I guess there are more people coming in, I just wanted to start a poll. I wonder if Tabby, you could help me just share the poll, because we will be talking about the UNDROP, and we wanted to, hear from you whether you are familiar with UNDROP. If you could just take a moment and click the right answer, that would be great. So the question is whether you're familiar, you have yes, no, or somewhat. So I like to give some moments for people to click, and then you have to send it so we get the poll. All right. I hope you all had the chance to do that. Tabby, sorry, just in terms of the outcome of the poll, do we get to see that now, or?
Yes, I will share my screen.
Excellent.
Let's see. Okay, here we can. Are you able to see this? The
Yes.
results?
Okay, so I see the results. I hope everybody sees it as well on your screen. So the question, how familiar you are, 27% answered yes, 30 said no, and somewhat said 43. So we have, let's say, a very mixed audience, which I think is great. So just a few words to frame this workshop and give you a bit of an idea about the workshop structure. So this UNDROP, which was adopted in December 2018 by the UN General Assembly, it marked a milestone in an advocacy process towards the recognition of peasants' rights, which started about 2 decades ago. So we thought the two objectives of this workshop would be, number one, we wanted to make known this UNDROP to everybody participating in this workshop today. And I see this as a space for a collective knowledge sharing and collective knowledge building. Some of us have more knowledge while the others have less, but I think this is, hopefully, it will be a space, and even though we're all virtually connected, it will be a space for us to learn from each other and build this awareness and knowledge on the UNDROP. And for this, we have two excellent speakers who I will then introduce you to in a second. Then the second objective we thought is that now, that the tool has been implemented, it has been adopted, now it has to go for implementation. And we want to bring the UNDROP as a tool closer to us, closer to the work that we're doing. And the best way we do it is really by looking and taking examples of things and situations and contexts that are happening around us. And so we hope that we will have in breakout sessions a chance to engage with you in a smaller group, looking at the context. We have picked two situations, and I will pass on to my colleague, co-moderator Farouk, to explain this a bit later when we're through. The idea is to really apply UNDROP on this particular situation, which is ongoing in India and in Indonesia. So the idea is to really, after having known and heard from two speakers, to unpack UNDROP. So that will be the context and the structure that we have decided for this workshop. And now I would like to already introduce our panel speakers. So first I would like to introduce Henry Saragi, who's the chairperson of Serikat Petani Indonesia Peasant Union. Henry is one of the initiators for the declarations. We're really extremely delighted to have you with us and to hear directly from you, Henry. Thank you very much for your time. Then we also have a second speaker. Her name is Michelle Zuferi from Unitere from Switzerland. Michelle has been responsible since 2017 for the implementation of the UNDROP in domestic and foreign policies at UNITER. So it's really great to have two different perspectives, one from Asia and one from Europe in terms of UNDROP and its application. Now, before giving the floor finally to our excellent speakers, I just have two technical remarks I wanted to make. You might have noticed that we are providing translation. So if you click onto the globe, we're providing translation into Bahasa and Khmer. For those of you who need translation, please click on the language. And I really welcome everybody to raise questions in chat box. We will have enough time to interact with our excellent speakers during their presentation. So I really want to encourage everybody to do that. Okay, so that's basically it. I think we can start. And I would really like to now welcome Henry. It's our honor to have you here with us, Henry, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for this event on ASEAN's European People's Forum 13. For me, to present in this event is, I say, is to glad for me, yeah, because I have opportunity to explain about the UNDROP. Yeah, it is our work together, and I have prepared the slide. Yeah, and because the time I will explain. As you know, the Lapia campesina built in 2003, 1993. Lapia campesina established 1993, and as the peasant organization, yeah, many the peasants in the Lapia campesina members violence, not just the civil and political right, but the economic and social cultural right. And then in the second conference Lapia Campesina in Tlaxcala, we're making policy document of Lapia Campesina and one document about the human right for the peasant, how the situation human right in the life of the peasant. And then since 1996, yeah, until the third conference Lapia Campesina in Bangalore, we many discussion, yeah, about the right of the peasant. We many compile about the violation for the situation of the peasant. And then in the third conference of Lapia Campesina, we present against how the situation in the all the members of the Lapia Campesina. And then 2000, me as the ICC in Lapia Campesina, yeah, a result from the third conference. And then after that, we trying, yeah, in Indonesia level, yeah, to more systematically making discussion about what is our right as the peasant. And because we see the problem of the peasant not just for us as the members Lapia Campesina or SPI, but many peasants in Indonesia outside SPI facing the violation. Yeah, because that we on April 2001 in Indonesia level, all social movement in Indonesia, yeah, peasant movements and agrarian reform movements and activists of the human rights, yeah, join together, organize the conference on agrarian reform and peasant right in Cibubur. And from the from this April conference, we have results 9 resolutions. The one resolution is the peasant right, Indonesian peasant right declaration. And one, the mandate from this conference, how to make the right of the peasant to be as the law, yeah, in Indonesia level, and to making as the during at the time we say the conventions, yeah, not the declaration, but making the as the convention. And April 2001, in the same month, April, yeah, team invite me, yeah, to the side event in the UN, talking about the situation of the right of the peasant under the neoliberal system. Yeah, I was in there and present how the many violation of the peasant. Nah, since 2001, after Jakarta conference, we bring to the regional conference in Jakarta. Yeah, we organize La Pia Campesina conference, and we invite the FIAN to in this conference. We making formulate what is the right of the peasant for the people, for the peasant in the Southeast Asia level. And then since 2002 until 2003, yeah, we start bring the idea of the peasant convention, yeah, to the Geneva, and we present to about the situation of the violation of the peasant right. Yeah. And of course, yeah, the process since 2001 until 2007, it is not yet formal process in the UN in Geneva, still just as the side event. Yeah, and we many socialization in the internal La Pia Campesina. And in internal La Pia Campesina, on 2008, we organized the International Conference of the Right of the Peasant as a part of the preparing the conference of La Pia Campesina in Maputo. And because on 2008, in the world facing problem of the food crisis, yeah, the issue of the price of the issue of the right of the peasant becoming the crucial issue too. Yeah, because under the food crisis, peasant as the people's victims. Yeah, peasant as the majority hunger people in the world. It's the tragedy. Yeah, how the peasant as the produce of the food, but the peasant in the same time as the hunger. Yeah, it is the tragedy in the world. And then food crisis, yeah, making the issue of the right of peasants becoming the international issue and the UN issue. And in the 2009 in April, yeah, UN General Assembly exploring further ideas to protect and recognize the right of the peasant. And then in Geneva process, yeah, they making the study of the discrimination in the context of the right to food by the UN Human Rights Council. Advisory committee formally entered the UN. Yeah, and then on 2011, 2012, they're making the preliminary study and penal study. Yeah, how to create a peasant right as a new human right instrument. It's very interesting, yeah, during 2011, 2012, yeah, because the first idea for the right of the peasant, but the last, yeah, after the study and many input from the outside La Pia Campesina from the organization indigenous people, peasant folks, hunters, yeah, and the workers, people in rural area, yeah, agriculture workers, yeah, and the making the resolutions is not just for the peasant, yeah, and the result to making the resolution right of the peasants and other peoples working in rural area. And we can see, yeah, we're not just working as La Pia Campesina with the team, with the Pian, yeah, but we work, yeah, since 2000, we can say intensively since 2011 with the peasant folk, indigenous people, farmer workers, migrant workers, and hunters, and many group, yeah, from the rural areas working together with us. And after 5 sessions, yeah, on December 2018, yeah, the UNDROP adopted by the General Assembly with the voting, yeah, 121 in favor against 8 country and abstentions 50 for country. And we can see, yeah, in UN declarations, we have 28 article, yeah, and as the peasant, we feeling is very difficult, yeah, how the long discussion, yeah, from 2012, yeah, 2018, yeah, and from the, not just from article by article, but word by words. Very difficult to to make the proposal the word of the peasant, yeah, because many from the industrial country, they don't want the words of the peasant, but they want the farm. And then the second is very difficult to put the idea about the food sovereignty. Yeah. From the industrial country, they don't want, yeah, the words of the term of the food sovereignty. And then it's very difficult discussion about the issue of the land and territory. Yeah. And then about the issue of the biological, about the right to the seed, yeah, because it is relation with the intellectual property right, and the right to biological diversity is difficult too. And about the responsibility, yeah, of the state, yeah, it's very difficult to discuss. And of course, after we many debate, yeah, and with working together, yeah, with the, we can say, the peasants, with the peasant folk, yeah, indigenous people, and the NGOs and the experts from university, we success to making the peasant right and others peoples working area as the declaration. And now, how we adopting the declaration international legislation, how to making the harmonized in the national level. Yeah, for some country, not yet any law or instrument protection and fulfill the right of the peasant and other people's working area, how to making the instrument for this, and for this country have how to making the harmonized, and how to the strengthening our instrument or law in the national level. Like case the Indonesia, we have law of the food and law of the protection and empowering of the peasant. But now under the pressure WTO and the international uh, international organizations, the government making the law to making the weak of the right of the peasant and about the food sovereignty. And then in the international level, how strengthening UNDROP institution in the UN mechanism. Yeah, we see it's very slow uh, institution in the UN mechanism, yeah, because the COVID-19, and now how we making the process more quick, more progress. And the third, how we are as the patient, how we are as the people, and how we are as the farm workers, yeah, we implement in our life, yeah, how we are feeling. Uh, we have the right now as the declaration, how we using this for our strengthening our struggle. That is the our challenging now. And I can say it is not just result work from the Indonesia or Lapia Campesina, but it is result work together, unity uh, from the social movements in the world. And of course, support from the some country, yeah, they agree with the platform of the agrarian reform, food sovereignty, yeah, and agroecology and uh, relation protection of the right of the peasant and other peoples working rurally. I think this is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Henry. I think that was indeed very inspiring hearing how you share the history, how different efforts were joined, which started originally in Indonesia, and it really became a declaration, contributing, putting together all different movements. And now the declaration needs to be implemented. And I think this is where, we also, again, needs to join different efforts. So thank you very much for that. I wonder if there are any particular questions to Henry from the audience on the history that he has just shared on the different rights. Some of these rights are new, like the right to seed, which has become through the UNDROP, a human rights on the right to seed, food sovereignty. I just wonder if there are any questions. If not, we continue collecting questions, right, Farouk?
Yeah, yes, I think we can continue to the
Okay.
second speaker, and we wait for the questions and brief contributions later.
Great, great. Okay, thank you very much. So thanks, Henry. Then I'd like to now invite Michelle to continue with her presentation. Thank you very much. Michelle, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me. So I was asked to present a little more deeply the contents of the declaration, which I will do now. I will just share my presentation. Sorry. But I don't see now my fichier. Sorry. Are you gone out of the
Michelle, do you have a problem sharing or?
It's coming. I could not. I tried before and it was okay. I apologize. Now it's okay. Sorry.
All right, no problem.
Do you see now?
No,
No?
no, it's not been shared.
Oh. I am really, really sorry. It will be possible, I am sure.
I can do it for you. I have your presentation. Should I do it?
Okay, please do it. So
Yeah, no
I am
problem.
very sorry.
No problem, no problem.
So my first slide was about who is concerned by UNDROP, and Henry already told about that all the people involved in agriculture, peasants, fisher, pastoralists, but also indigenous people, local community, rural worker, migrants, they are all concerned by the UNDROP. Next one, please. The strengths of UNDROP, that is that most of the rights it contains are already in binding international law. That gives UNDROP a deep legitimacy. For example, you have the social and civil rights, but also the Convention for Biodiversity, and so it's very broad. So that makes that the UNDROP is now part of an international human rights standard, and the states are bounded to implement UNDROP by the principle of good faith, to implement UNDROP in their territories, but also in their domestic and international politics. Next, please. Don't worry, I will not go through all the article. Henry already presented them. I just want to stress out that in this declaration, 3 articles are describe specifically state obligation of states, and that is the Article 2, which is meant, the title is General Obligation of State, but also the right of peasant women and other women working in rural areas, and the right to biological diversity. The Article 27 are describing responsibility of the United Nations and international organization, and the Article 28 tend to ensure the compliancy of the implementation with human rights. All other articles describe the right of peasants, and then always the obligation of the states which are linked to this article, to each article. Next, please. I want to propose you to get a closer look to 2 articles. It is the Article 17, right to land and natural resources, and the Article 10, the right to participation. And if we have time, perhaps just a little overview on the economic, social, and cultural rights, which are presented through different articles of the declaration. Next, please. Okay, the right to land is a very, very complete article. It has 7 points in the article. You certainly know about this article. But what is very interesting is that it enshrines the right of peasants and other people to have the right to land individually and or collectively. that was also a big discussion in the negotiation. And the goal of the right to land is to achieve an adequate standard of living. The access to land must be done without discrimination. What is also interesting is that the states must provide legal recognition for land tenure right. They must accept also customary land tenure rights or other ways. And the states shall protect and ensure that peasants are not evicted from their lands. Next, please. It presents also that states should be protected against displacement into, and that must be done into the domestic legislation. Then, in case they have been displaced, peasants, now I say peasants, but of course I mean peasants and other people living in rural area, then when people have been displaced, they have the right to return into the land. Now what is crucial and what you see in red is, of course, the fact that states shall take appropriate measure to carry out agrarian reforms. And then state shall take measures in the conservation and sustainable use of land, including through agroecology, and that they have to ensure the condition for the regeneration of biological and other natural capacity and cycle of the earth or of the land. Next, please. So the points that are crucial rapidly: collective agrarian reform, which is based on the recognition of the social function of land. Then the recognition of collective and individual rights, access to land and natural resources for peasants, the different forms of land tenure, and the recognition of system collective use and management of natural resources, and the protection for farmers to have the right to stay in their land or to come back. This article is really crucial in the sense land, or having access to land, is the basic principle for farmers and other people to do their work, to live, to feed themselves, to have housing security, etc. So it is a very crucial article, although all articles in the declaration are important and they are all interdependent. Now I will go to the right to participation, please. And one more, I'll jump over that and I go to the summary. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. And right to participate, that's the right to be involved deeply in all the steps of the elaboration and implementation of decisions that are affecting them. So that must take place actively and freely. That can be done directly or through representative organization, but states must make every effort to ensure the participation of peasants and this participate in all the steps. Sorry. This Article 10 is very near and is has to be articulated with the Article 11 right to information, because of course, if you want to participate, you need to get the information. Okay. I will not, please not more. Yes, just to say that the interconnection of the all articles, for example, the right to enjoy and develop and perpetuate, the right to seeds, the right to culture, the right to traditional medicine, the necessity, the obligation to avoid all form of forced labor, the right to safe, healthy working environment, the right to adequate housing, the right to education. All this article, they construct the economic, social, and cultural rights. Next, please. You can get more information. I can put the links in the chat. La Via Campesina did an illustrated manual on UNDROP, and the South Center also brought out a study. I will put the link into the chat. Okay, thank you very much. The implementation will come later, I think.
Thanks, Michelle. Sorry, I need to either stop screen sharing, but I do not want to take time. Farouk, could you support me in sharing whether there are any additional questions so far? Because if not, then I would suggest that we continue.
Yes, we continue, Yifang.
Okay, great. All right, then can we start? Michelle, were you then sharing about the implementation? Michelle?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
So I will first present a general overview of possibilities for implementation, and then Henry will present the example of Indonesia, and I will come back on Switzerland. This slide is not my slide, it's a slide we did in a workshop on LVC workshop on implementation of the declaration, and that was done by Sofia from FIAM. So what you can see, it's for implementation, there is no rule for everybody, but the fact is that we have to work on different level, the local level with peasants, and allies, decision makers, on the regional level, the national level, sorry, regional level, and international level. La Via Campesina is very works a lot with allies on the international mainstreaming of UNDROP, having many contacts with UN agencies, and also working towards the idea of mainstreaming the UNDROP in all the works of the different special rapporteurs. So I will concentrate more on the local and national and regional part. So what is important, I think, is in every country, every nation, you have to define the strategy and program in relation with your situation, and then find allies. Allies are in the civil society, that can be politicians, trade unions, lawyers, other NGOs. And at each level, it's important to raise awareness. The people must know that UNDROP exists. That is a powerful instrument. Training must be done on UNDROP. Advocacy work must be done, and monitoring also is important. It's crucial that peasants, consumers, politicians appropriate themselves the UNDROP. that would be for my general presentation on implementation. You can go out of of my presentation because I will speak freely after. Thank you very much.
Yifang, we have one interesting comment by Rakhmi. So I would ask Rakhmi if she wants to share her contribution to this panel. Rakhmi?
Yes, Farooq. Sorry, I
Go
cannot
ahead, Rakhmi. Yes.
hear you. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I just have a short comments related to the UNDROP implementations, because our concern is about the issue of seat. While we know that UNDROP is the victoria for the people, but in the meantime, we also see that we also have seen that the government now, especially Indonesian governments, they sign many free trade agreements that put a lot of obligations of the states, to ensure that the state will implement the strong provisions that facilitate the monopoly practicing by the corporations. So one of the example is about the Indonesia EFTA free trade agreements that have been ratified by Indonesian governments, where we know that one of the element is about how Indonesia should comply their own national laws with UPOV conventions 1991, while Switzerland, we know that they don't have those such obligations because they only bind with UPOV 1976, for example. Well, my questions actually, I don't know how, hopefully the speakers can also respond. Actually, we are facing a lot of challenges related to how we can implement the UNDROP itself. We know that Indonesia is very active in the negotiations process and support of the process, but how we can ensure that the state, especially our government, will have the same commitments that they had before. I mean, it's really complicated if we are facing the situations now. Indonesia government also passed the new law called Omnibus Law, or Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja, that also have a very strong problematic, especially related to the farmers and rural areas. So we are very in the difficult situations, that we are questioning actually how we can implement UNDROP, especially in our national regulation itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rakhmi. You have explained the challenges faced by the farmers and also the role of the state and how they are not meeting the obligations which has put forward by UNDROP on them. Anyhow, we will talk about it, how we can best get this implemented. Now we have another question from Estrella del Valle. Can you go ahead, Estrella, yourself to talk about your question, please? Estrella, shall I read it for you? Or you will be presenting yourself? Okay. She has written that congratulations on your presentation. I would like to ask you about the difficulties that may have arisen from the fact that the necessary instrument was finally approved as a non-binding instrument, a General Assembly resolution. Was it approval as an international treaty considered at any time during the negotiation? What were the main obstacles? Thank you very much. So if Henry, you are our other speaker, can take up this question, please. Henry?
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you
Henry, please go
very
ahead.
much. Thank you very much, Rahmi. And second,
Australia.
Australia. Yeah. Maybe I'm not directly answer your question, but I will give the information during the how we negotiations and why the many country, majority country, they support us for the making the declaration. This is the question from me, yeah, because I know many country they in national level they making the many policy, yeah, not support the farmers. They following the uh, multilateral organization instrument like WTO, yeah, and free trade agreements and others instrument, liberalization. They following. But when we ask why you support us, like example the South Africa, they know they need the right of the person and other people's working area as the declaration instrument. It is as the instrument for them to making the national law for them, because some country they know they cannot making the policy, yeah, for the national level, because many the international policy is the not support the person or the national interest. They see right of the person and other people's working area declaration as the instrument international can support them when they making the national policy to protect their national interest, special for the food and for the patient. That is why the majority G77, yeah, they support the declaration, the UNDROP. Yeah. And for them, it is the fighting. That is they depend. They struggle for our declaration. Yeah. As you know, the country they reject the declaration, the USA, yeah, UK, Australia. Yeah, it is I think the main country, and following by the Japan's, South Korea, and some the country in the Aero. Yeah. And we see how in the negotiations, many country, because they know the one sides need the UNDROP, but the other sides they difficult for the policy in international, and they're making position the abstain. Yeah, because we can say for those country abstain, the position is the originally they agree with the UNDROP, but because the international relation they said they abstain. Yeah. I think it is the I can say the information and how we to make us optimistic. Yeah. Using the UNDROP as the instrument to the struggling for the our right as the patient and other people's working area. And of course, the many country like Indonesia, yeah, they two position. Yeah, one side's protection the patient and other people's working area, and other sides they are allow the policy to the liberalization and privatization and open the market.
Okay.
I think this is
Thank
the situation.
Thank you, Henry. Now we will go to the breakout rooms. But before we go to breakout rooms, I will just say that we have an instrument to struggle in the shape of this charter, the peasant charter. Now it's up to our organizations, the peasant organizations, the mass movement of the peasant organization to get it implemented. It is non-obligatory, we know it, but we can force with our power, with our struggle to organize, with bringing farmers together, peasants together, rural poor together, all those who are in the villages to one platform and struggle for the implementation of this this peasant chart. So Yifan, we go now to the breakout rooms.
Yes,
Okay,
we
go
will.
ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Henry, for that reply. And Farouk, I take over the moderation for the breakout session. So we want
Yes,
to
please.
offer 2 breakout sessions to deep dive into UNDROP. So we have a breakout session 1, which will be remaining in this plenary because we have translation. We cannot shift the translators to the breakout room. So this group will be talking about food estate in Indonesia. We'll unpack food estate and we will take a look at how UNDROP could be applied to this case. So that will be plenary remaining in this room. The second room we have is on India's farm laws. And this will be Professor Sahin. He will be joining us in breakout session. He will give us a short introduction on farm laws, and then we will unpack similarly using the UNDROP. So for this group on farm laws, you will need to enter breakout session 1. And I hope Tabby, you could support in just creating these options for people to either stay here or move to breakout session. And we will not be coming back to plenary anymore. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody. I hope we can continue work together as part of EAPF and as part of this, a movement to further strengthen UNDROP. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope you see a button to either go to breakout session 1 because I do not see it on my screen. Do people who want to move to breakout session 1 on Indian farm laws, do you see it?
If you click on the 3 dots on the button that says more, do you see the breakout room there? It's just named room 1. Do you see that on the bottom?
I personally don't see it, but if others can see it.
We can't see it. No, we can't see it. It is broadcast message to all or close all rooms. And there are 46 who are not assigned, they are unassigned yet.
So basically, I'm not assigning people. They can just join the room if they want to go to the India Farm Bills discussion.
So
okay, that's
how
good.
to join the India Farms Bill? Okay.
So do you see the breakout room 1 on the bottom?
No.
See, I don't see it, but maybe.
No, I don't see it as well.
If you click on more, the 3 dots, then you should see the option to join the breakout room 1.
Do you see it, Felix?
I do see it.
Okay, I don't see it, but that's okay because I stay in this room. How about others? Michelle, do you see the option?
I do not.
Okay.
I will stay with Indonesia in this case.
Okay. So those of you.
Where are the 3 dots?
Where your name is, right?
So I have
the 3 dots, it says you have to click on more and go to the 3 dots, but I don't see either the more or the 3 dots.
Apologies for these technical issues.
Sir, I can see the 3 dots, but it's not showing that. It's either showing chat, language interpretation, meeting settings, disconnect audio, raise hands and all those things. From my mobile and on the computer, it shows disable video receiving. No, it doesn't show the rooms.
you give it a try again. I've named it India Farm. So
there is a room 1, but it's a assign. So I can't assign people on this. So maybe we should assign like Afsar. I'm going to assign breakout room 1.
Yeah, Tabi, maybe we assign people to the room, and if they
Yes, it's
like to
better.
stay, they can. I think they can switch back. Is that correct?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, I'll
please,
just start assigning people to the room then.
Okay,
Yes,
just
please.
Felix, just make sure Professor Sahin goes to the India group and then Adi
Yes.
stays here.
I
Okay?
will assign everyone
Great.
to the India group who is not Indonesian, and the other ones have to go back then.
Okay.
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 Go ahead. Go ahead.
Apologies for these, small technical issues, but I hope that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, now I got an invite to go to room 1.
So
Please
go
join.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
please join. Okay. We just give ourselves a few more minutes. Please stretch yourselves.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
yourself a cup of coffee if
Yeah.
you need. Apologies.
Good, 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 good.
So if you're being invited, you can basically choose to take the invitation or not. If you don't take it, you stay in the main room.
Okay. All right.
So Felix, I'm going to join the room, so I'll do some of the.
Yes, please do that.
I'll be in that room, and you'll stay in the main room, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So those of you who are still with us here, it means that you want to stay here and continue our discussions around UNDROP and food estate, right? All right, then may I kindly request my colleague Adi to share with us the food estate without taking too much time, because I think we lost quite a number of minutes now. Adi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yvonne. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon here in Indonesia. Maybe morning now in your place. We will discuss about the food estate in Indonesia. Let me share my screen.
If anyone is still in the wrong room, please just write me a message or write into the chat. Like Vishnu, I'll put you in the other room.
Okay. Thank you, Felix. Can you see my screen, Yvonne? Okay. Loading it now. Sorry, it's still loading, right?
I could share my screen if you want. Yeah?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Now it's
Now we're there.
now
Okay,
it's there.
now
All
we
right.
can see it now. Okay, related to the UNDROP that we have discussed before in the previous session, we are now talking about the food estate in Indonesia. The food estate in Indonesia is a big project from the governments in the Jokowi administrations. The context was the warning from the FAO that there will be a food crisis due to the pandemic, and also WFP estimated there is a decline in rice production. So in that case, in May 2020, the Jokowi administration delivered 89 national strategic project, in which recommending the project increase and ensuring the food supply. In September 23, Jokowi announced the expansion of the food estate program as the measure to secure domestic food supply in Indonesia, and also reliance to imported food crop. The food estate is, in our definition, is a great giant transformation in the agri-food sector in Indonesia. It's transformed from the small scale farming to the large scale farming, because in Indonesia now commonly every farmers in Indonesia don't have a very large land. So these projects, we call it the great transformations. Okay, to give the context in Indonesian situation now, the male and female labor force participations, the gap are very high, and the ratio is very high. The male almost 18% and the female only 50%. This is a very huge gap in Indonesia. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. To give the context in Indonesia, we all know the poverty level is above the global poverty level. But if we see it in details, in the rural area, the poverty level is much higher than in the urban area. This is the complex problem. I hope with the UNDROP we can solve this problem, because poverty level in the rural area is very high, and most of the people who live in there are working in the agriculture sector. So this is the labor force participation. This is including the workforce in the agricultural sector. And also, the agriculture is a priority sector in Indonesia. Most of the rural communities work in the agricultural sector. But however, the poverty line in the rural area remains high. But the contribution in the agricultural sector in Indonesia toward the GDP is no longer dominant. It's only about 30%. And the contribution from the processing industry now becoming more significant, about 20%. But regardless of this shift, again, the number of farmers by gender, the women farmers is only 8 million, and the male farmers is 25 million farmers. This is a very huge gap too. Okay, this is the farmer household that holds land above the 0.5 hectares in 2008 or higher than 2013. But the number of landless farmers or farmers that have 0.5 hectare of lands also increasing in 2018. This is show us that the landless farmers are much higher than before. If we know the problem in Indonesia we are facing today is the agricultural land is becoming smaller due to the massive land conversions. Most of the land are now owned by the mining and also plantation industries, as well as many urban communities are now occupying the land in the rural areas. At the same time, the labor absorption for non-agricultural sector is very low. The smallholder farmers and peasants without land are increasingly growing and marginalized. This is not the first time that food estate approach to use the others of food security system. The food estate program, this is the land ownership data that we have from the National Statistical Agency. So the landowners, the farmers that have 0.5 hectare or less than that are much higher, 15 million farmers. And the farmers that have more than 10 hectare of lands are very, very few. The National Land Agency in 2014 stated that the Gini index of land ownership ratio is 0.72. This is very high ratio. Okay, to look at the food estate historical timeline. The first food estate was launched in 1996. The goal was to bring Indonesia as a rice self-sufficient nation. The government at that time, the Suharto's administration, called this mega rice project that convert about 1.5 million hectare of peat forest into a rice field, and bringing more than 15,000 of transmigrants to work as a farmers in that land. From almost 1.5 million hectares, the government had only managed to clear only 31,000 hectares of land. Another 17,000 hectares were later also cleared, but not cultivated and not occupied. And the remaining 1.4 million hectares were left untouched. So this is the first big failure in the food estate project at that time. Why it is failure? Because without the proper environmental studies, the Suharto administration dug over almost 5,000 kilometers of canals and smaller waterways for the project, and draining and damaging the peatland. So the development of the project cleared pristine forest and destroyed wildlife habitat. Due to the drainage, the peatland can no longer store water, and leading to flooding in the rainy season and fires during the dry seasons. And the Suharto successor, the B.J. Habibie president, terminated this project in 1999, but the damage still remains until now. In 2010, in the Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono presidency, the food estate concept was again reintroduced under the name of Merauke Integrated Rice Estate, and later changed to Merauke Integrated Food and Energy Estate, or MIFE. The objective of this project is to accelerate the development in Papua. MIFE was created to integrate agriculture and energy product, following the success story of a large-scale agriculture in Brazil. This project greatly accommodating the corporate interests and commercial commodities. The government, SBY administration, has granted 45 companies for the cultivation of food crop, sugarcane, and oil plantation, and also industrial plantation by converting forests and land areas in more than 1.3 million hectares. The MIFE project has not been running as it should due to social, economic, and environmental problem. is still getting resistance from the indigenous people as well as the wider public across the nation. So this is the second failure of food estate project. And the third food estate project is Bulungan Food Estate, Bulungan Food Estate Program in East Kalimantan. It's the total area of the food estate. It's almost 300,000 hectares, but the government only managed to clear only 1,000 hectares, and from 1,000 hectares, they are only planted 5 hectares of crops. So we can see now this is the third failure of food estate program. And then there's Ketapang Food Estate Program. From 100,000 hectares, they are only plant 100 hectares of land. The project had total potential actually 800,000 hectares. So this is the fourth failure in food estate program. As we can see now, the historical food estate project is historical of failure. Now the Jokowi administrations are introducing again the food estate program in Central Kalimantan in 2020, last year. But now they are having a new concept for food estate. It's called farmer corporation. The concept called farmer corporation is a vision to include farmer in an integrated supply chain from upstream to downstreams, where production facilities and infrastructure such as fertilizer, machinery, irrigation, protection in the form of insurance and financing and off-taker are guaranteed by the government. The farmer corporation is a form of agribusiness vertical integration using contract farming to control and regulate the commodity production for global supply chains. The food estate in Kalimantan now, they are planting a very huge and large land of rice crops. But the problem is, in the last February, after one planting season in this project, Central Kalimantan Food Estate Project, the farmer experienced crop failure also and decreased the production since the planting time, and the seeds given by the government are not accordance with the they are used to apply. The farmers used to apply now. But the Jokowi administration doubling down the plan to establish this rice-clear agriculture plantation across the country. We can see that now the red point is now currently activate the food estate. There are 3 provinces in here, Central Kalimantan, which is 173,000 hectares, and also North Sumatra, 13,000 hectares, and Central Sumba, 10,000 hectares. And there will be more food estate project in other provinces, like in Aceh and Riau, and also the Papua province. The Papua province, it's like the project of food estate before in Nive area. The objective of this food estate is a food security, but the food security development policies and project on a large scale and involving large capital forces shows that the orientation and the objective of the agriculture development being transformed toward commercial and export-oriented food market and food system. And by relying on or by being controlled by the corporation, the problem is that the transformation process getting away from the actualization of food and energy sovereignty. So this is the common problem in the food estate project. The right and access of peasants to land sources of food production are eliminated and often take place violently. As we can see in the MIFE project, there are thousands of indigenous people are displaced from their customary land. And they are not, the farmers in the food areas and in the food estate areas cannot control it and consume properly. And this is very expensive because the small farmers and peasants without land are increasingly growing and marginalized. Agricultural labor increase but do not get fair surplus and wages. Not to mention there are many conflicts arise, such as land dispute in central Kalimantan and North Sumatra. Right now there is not yet any dispute, but it will be coming because it uses the customary land and then forest area. And then the exclusion of local participation in the economic activities, and also erosion of the traditional practice, which are often strongly related to the food security and livelihood. We can pass this. Okay, this is the correlation between UNDROP and food estate. The UNDROP, especially related to the right to food and food sovereignty, the peasant and rural workers have the right to determine their own food and agriculture system. In food estate, central government determine what to produce using top-down agricultural system. The government giving the seed, government giving all of the mechanism tools for cultivating, giving the fertilizer and all of that. So the peasant and farmers, they don't have the right to determine their own food and what seed they are using. And then the peasant and other people working in rural area have the right to active and free participation. In the food estate program, there is no participation. All of the policies decided and designed by the central government according to the national strategic program. And then in UNDROP, states shall take all necessary measures to ensure non-state actors that they are in the position to regulate. In food estate, the corporate and food industries dominate the business game of food estate. In fact, there's also military involvement in the field. In the Central Kalimantan Food Estate Project, Jokowi appointed the Ministry of Defense as a leading sector for the food estate project. This is very strange because of the food sector normally under the Department of Agriculture or a Department of Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Fisheries, but the leading sector here is Ministry of Defense. So this is very ridiculous. And then the next, right to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable method that respect human rights. food estate do not address the problem of access to healthy food because of the pesticides and also the mechanism that they use. It's not produce any healthy food at all. And then in UNDROP clearly says that food sovereignty localized food system. Food estate does not address the problem of food distribution because the food estate now they are producing the crops for the national consume and also for the export commodity. So it doesn't localize the food system. And then the food sovereignty puts the right to sufficient, healthy, and culturally appropriate food for individuals and reject food as commodity. In the food estate, food is commodity. In food estate project in North Sumatra, there are 5 companies. They are dominating the project, such as Indofood, a Wings Group, and also others companies, and they are taking part of the when it's cultivated. They are taking all of the crops they are cultivated. This is the second rights that food estate violates the UNDROP rights. It's rights to land. The UNDROP says that individual and collective right to land. So UNDROP recognizes this, but in food estate, land are managed by the government, including the regional government, state-owned business entities, regional government-owned business entities, and the private company. There are no recognition of peasants as right holders. Farmers or peasants hired only as a paid laborers. And then the UNDROP recognized the right of peasants and other people working in rural area to the conservation and protection to the environment. But in the food estate project, the forest area, protected forest area, and limited production forest, and also permanent production forest are using and convert as a food estate area. So this will be convert the forest area to the food estate area. Also, there was a lack of protection and empowerment to the existing agricultural land because the conversion rate are very high. The intensification, consolidation, and specialization are some of large-scale behavior trend inherent to the food system. Intensive practice dominate the system as a whole, and a small number actor in the food production. The food estate is meant to be interlinked with the global food supply chains. This gives us more problem than a solution of either food security or food sovereignty. For a recommendation of a better solution, small diversified farm or less efficient. Sorry, it's more efficient than the large one and bring more benefit to the communities. So the food estate is a large scale of agriculture. It doesn't give any benefits to the people. And the second, with local food system is an alternative to the volatility of food price because the more close to what we eat and what we cultivate, the food is more best. And also food sovereignty is the solution for both of the food security and also the food price, because the food sovereignty clearly stated also in the UNDROP. Okay, let's stop.
Okay.
I have some few words. I'm not yet finished. The agri-food sector is not only in Indonesia, but also in the world largest economic sector, and is therefore deeply related to the poverty. Almost half of the global workforce is employed in the agricultural sector. A majority of the world's poorest people are subsistence farmers and fishermen. They are caught in the cycle of poverty without access of education, employment, economic and social infrastructure, and also political representations. This is the problem we are facing now in Indonesia. The farmers, peasants, and also fishermen, they don't have their, they cannot determine their vision, and many do not have adequate compensation to and work in unacceptable condition, do not have access to sufficient, affordable, and proper quality of food. Poverty is the largest threat to the producer of food globally and largest driver of food insecurity. But however, simplifying the problem will not make it better, because food estate projects are simplifying all of the problem. Ensuring a sufficient level of food production will not address the problem of food security within the food system. We are currently produce more than enough food to the whole population, but yet million people remain undernourished. In Indonesia has a serious problem with this. According to the Global Hunger Index in 2019 and 2020, 30% of children still suffer from stunting and malnutrition. Clearly shows that the ignorance of the complete dimension of the right to food and nutrition realization. Food estate has a potential inflict in human rights violation, especially in the right to food, through the expropriation of land and resources owned by the small-scale food producer and also indigenous people. Food estate will also transfer the control of natural resource to the agribusiness corporations. Okay, Ivan, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Adi, for that very descriptive information in terms of what is going to happen with food estate and all the different rights you have highlighted, 2 rights that are recognized in UNDROP, but they're because of interconnectedness of different rights. You have also mentioned that, it could also lead to rights abuses and violations that are recognized in UNDROP. Dear friends, we have 2 o'clock already. It's actually past 2. The workshop was supposed to continue only until 2, but I really want to know if there are any questions that you would like to raise to Adi, or if Henry, if you are still with us, whether you want to compliment. I think this is the moment for us to let's say have a dialogue. I know the time is really short. I apologize, but if you could stay on for, let's say, 5 more minutes, then we could try to kick off some conversation. Okay.
Yvonne, can I?
Yes, please, Rahmi, please.
Yeah, sorry, I cannot use my video. No, thank you, Adi, for your presentations, because this is also part of my curiosity how we can implement UNDROP. I know that the food estate project is the biggest issues in our national situations right now, especially in several parts of Indonesia. But my curiosity actually how we can use the UNDROP. If Adi have mentioned the differentiate between the UNDROP and the food estate, but then how we can use this instrument actually against these food estate projects. I mean, there are several provisions in UNDROP, for example, how we can ensure the role of the state, yeah, to give more space for the participations of farmers, and then to ensure that the national policies will not against the principles that we have agreed under this UNDROP. I mean, I'm really optimistic, like I said before, about this UNDROP, because we should use the UNDROP, yeah, to implement this in our practical work, yeah, at national level. It's really important for us. But then once again, I just want to know how we, as from Indonesian movement especially, to push, yeah, a strong effort, yeah, from us to implement UNDROP, especially to against the food estate project. How to use it? I mean, this is really important. I mean, we need to put some really strategic like a concrete strategy that we can push. For example, if we want to targeting on national policies, which national policies that we will push, or if you want to targeting the policymakers, I mean, what kind of intervention that we can do, yeah, to ensure that they will implement the UNDROP principles in the decision making process at national level, for example, or yeah, etc. I mean, a lot of things that we can discuss. I know that SPI is really active, yeah, engaged in the process to implement UNDROP. I mean, we need to collect more participations from several organizations in Indonesia, to at least to make sure that the UNDROP can implement, or we can use it in our advocacy work at national level. I think that's from my side, Yifan. Thank you.